Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Two Geeks and One Noob, where we gather friends of similar interests and maybe not so similar and discuss, joke, learn more about, and generally have fun with geek culture. What are we talking about today, guys?
We are discussing Book of Boba Fett.
Yay.
Book of Boba!
You excited there, Dan?
I'm getting excited about the show. It's one of those shows. Sorry about the dog. It's one of those shows. Again, one of those Disney Plus shows where the first few episodes have not really hooked me yet, but I'm waiting for that moment.
I think a lot of people were going into Book of Boba Fett feeling like it was going to have a very similar approach as The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And they have gone very different route, even for just Star Wars and Disney and as it is,
yeah.
let alone with the Mandalorian stuff. So
I think this is one
I can
of the
see
first.
why some people are like a little slower to get on. And I will admit, episode 3 is pretty divisive. Let's
Yes,
be real.
it was.
The Vespa crew ain't exactly intimidating.
Never are.
No.
Maybe they should call it Mos Vespa.
Oh, that is one thing that I will note though. I think this is the first Star Wars series outside of the original Christmas special where it's intentionally the bad guy that they're focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that was a joke.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I can see why a lot of people are not quite as hooked on it because it is a very slow burn.
Oh yeah,
And which they've done intentionally so, and I personally like it because we're getting this idea of like who Boba is and kind of seeing him trying to be different than he was. And he's said a few different times, it's like we don't have to work for idiots that are just going to betray us at their first convenience. We can be our own people and do our own thing. And it's like, while it doesn't make sense, at the same time, you see him actually putting forth this genuine effort. So.
right. The other thing I'll say about it is I've since the first trailer dropped, that was more than just the after credits scene in season 2 of Mandalorian. I was stating, okay, this is already setting off some really strong Godfather Part 2 vibes.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, I'm all there for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what they've been doing. And they've even mentioned him building the crime family.
Yeah.
Like, that's been the whole, like, focus of this show. So it's like, yeah, it's a slow burn, but it's an intentional slow burn.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. I know we talked about that before outside of show, where you were talking about the Godfather thing, and it was just like, I personally have never seen the Godfather show or movies, so I don't know that so much, but I do understand the idea of like the crime boss that's kind of building his family, quote unquote.
Yep.
And so in the show, you can definitely see that and.
And we've seen bits and pieces of Boba being that like brutal person that he was before, like with some of his fights, like with the episode with the train, like the way he was fighting and helping train the Tuskens to get ready for that assault on the train, and then as well as the him fighting within when Black Chrysanthemum showed up, and just we're seeing those moments of brutality. But it's like he's still trying to refrain himself, and I think we're gonna see something within the next few episodes that ends the season where either someone betrays him or he just has no choice but to be that brutal person that he's always been, and we're gonna start to see that like, oh no, this dude's scary.
My money's on Fennec.
I don't think Fennec is gonna betray him because she chose to follow him. It wasn't like she was in a position where she had to follow him. She helped him with the one mission, and then she was like, cool, where are we going now?
True.
And so, like, I don't think it'll end up being Fennec. If anything, maybe I could see something with either the Vespa crew, or if he brings in and hires more guns to help him with this upcoming fight, potentially one of those people betrays him, is my guess.
Could be.
Or it could even be with what we saw in the last episode, the other crime syndicates saying that they're going to stay neutral and then end up betraying him.
That I can almost guarantee is going to happen. But the reason why I'm saying my money's on Fennec, what makes for a more explosive end than the number one, oh, I trusted this person. The most clear cut turns.
It's definitely a possibility. The reason I don't think is because they've been very intentional with the way that they've built things in the shows so far, both Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and they've done nothing to plant the seeds of her betraying them. If anything, we could potentially see the Gamorrean guards turn on him, because she even said in the beginning, is like, are you sure this is a good idea? Like, we don't know where their loyalties lie. And so we could end up seeing either them betraying him or him like letting Chris Anton free to go on a job, potentially coming back to bite him in the butt. And like, there's a few different options. I feel like if we were going to get something with Fennec betraying him, there would be more of a build to it. And it just doesn't feel like that's been there so far.
True. Yeah. Though you could argue that her questioning him constantly of like, are you sure that's a good idea? Or wait, why are we doing this? Why are we here? That could be the build to it.
She's questioned him, but not in a, like, I can't believe you made that decision kind of question. Like, more so like, are you sure this is the decision you want to make? Whereas if we look at like other movies and stuff, there's like, anytime we've had someone question the main character, it's always been more of in a confrontational way. And she hasn't been confrontational with those questions.
True.
Yeah, she's been more like giving him the word of caution, but with almost an encouraging, like,
you make the call, but yeah,
it's kind of like that second in command type person that is like, they're got each other's backs, but they're also going to call you on your crap if they think you're making a bad decision.
Yes, but I will still argue that they've been doing a decent job of, while yes, on the front, a lot of what they're doing in Book of Boba and to an extent Mandalorian was very tropey.
Mm-hmm.
However, more so with Book of Boba than Mandalorian, they've been doing their best to call out the tropes and make fun of them.
Yeah,
through storytelling, which again points me back to, I still think Fennec is a good candidate for a betrayal.
Here, my thinking is, if we see a Fennec betrayal, it's going to be season 2. Like, maybe this big climactic fight that happens at the end of season 1 that they're building towards, either they lose a lot more people than they predicted, or she just doesn't like the way that he handles some things post-fight and just decides, like, you know what, maybe this isn't where I want to be anymore. Yeah. And they're going to start building it to that. Just, I don't see it in this current season just because of the way things are being built. I could be wrong. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything that I don't know, but if we see a betrayal, I'm guessing it would be season 2 is my prediction.
Okay, yeah, I could go for that.
So here's a question. You guys were talking about a more brutal Boba Fett. As a person who's not quite as versed on the lore behind Boba Fett himself, I haven't seen much of his brutal side. What are the things that he's done in the past or in other iterations of him that make it brutal? Like, what has he done?
Well, that was hinted somewhat in the original trilogy, where whenever Vader first calls on the bounty hunters in, was it episode 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in episode 5, he very pointedly looks at Boba and says, "And no disintegrations, I want them alive."
Yeah,
so true. It's a small seed of giving you lore into who he is.
Yeah.
And most of the like deep diving into his character has been from like the books and the comic books. For example, there's a comic book of after episode 5 when he had Han Solo and Carbonite on his way to Tatooine with Han Solo. He realized that there was something wrong with the Carbonite pod where it wasn't going to stay as it was, and it was either going to malfunction and thaw, causing Han to be free, or it was going to malfunction and kill him before he got there.
Mm-hmm.
And Jabba specifically said, I want him alive.
Right. And
so during that, he swings by another planet and has someone he knows work on the pod. And he was like, well, you know, you're going to need money to repair this. I need money. What do you suggest? And they're like, why don't we just paint your armor black and send you into the arena and you can just take the winnings? And he went in and absolutely slaughtered everyone that he fought.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And it's like he was getting like headshots from a distance. He was just like going in with like close range weapons and just destroying them. Like he was just went in and basically with ease killed everybody until he got to the final fight. Mm-hmm. And at the final fight, it was like it was rigged to try and like get the champion's favor. because that champion had won one of the Hutt clans a lot of money, and so they're like, no, we're going to rig this final match in her favor every time. And he just destroyed her to the point of he even made his own jetpack self-destruct just to cause a long enough distraction to kill her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He will stop at nothing to succeed.
Yeah.
Which is another aspect that I love that they're showing in this new series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't just wake up in a Sarlacc pit and think, oh, that's how I'm going to get out.
Yeah. And we saw a little bit of that in the Clone Wars TV show, because he was, as a kid, already joining a bounty hunter crew and going after the Jedi and the clones and, like, just doing what they could to interfere with their missions and stuff. And, like, he gets onto a Venator class Star Destroyer and is killing clones, his own brothers, who, like, look exactly like his dad, because he knows they're not his dad. Mm-hmm. And he's angry that they're working with the Jedi who killed his dad. And so he's just sitting there killing them, like, as if it was nothing. And they're basically him.
Yeah. Remind me again, was it Mace Windu or Obi-Wan that killed his dad?
Mace.
It was Mace Windu. That's what I thought, but I was
Obi-Wan had the fight with him on Kamino.
Yeah.
And then Mace Windu killed him on Geonosia.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Worst take your son to work day ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hope you find your dad.
Hey, Boba, where's Django? Oh, he's over there. And over there.
What was that other joke that you said earlier? Was he had a little off the top?
Yep. Way to go there, Caleb.
So I think that we're going to see that brutal, darker side come out in this final climactic fight, because, like, he's already got issues with the Pikes, mm-hmm. and it's chances are we're going to see that the Pikes had some sort of connection to the biker gang killing the Tuskens. Like, he killed them while in his ship, so he didn't get any questions answered, which was kind of a dumb thing on his part. But chances are they were involved. Because, like, the Pikes are, first off, the Pikes are, like, pretty brutal and don't like their business being messed with. And the amount of money that they lost with the spice and the water that was on that train, I'm sure it was pretty exponential. And having already had the deal with the biker gang, they probably brought down the hammer, killed a few of the biker gang, and said, do your job that we are paying you for. Yeah. And so I'm pretty convinced that the Pikes were involved in some way.
Well, the other thing is it's kind of suggesting already that the Klatooinian bikers, they're in league with the Hutts. Because that symbol that they keep showing them spray painting, or they keep showing at the end of their raid that they want you to think is them, is Huttese for the letter K. Could be Klatooinian, could be something else entirely.
So how did you find that one out?
Bored.
Good old Wikipedia. I'm curious to see what we do with this final fight, because they've been building towards this a lot, and there's some speculation online amongst others, like Star Wars YouTubers and such, that think that the Pikes are just kind of the frontmen and someone else is running it behind the scenes, which is definitely possible. I don't agree with the theories that they're throwing out, but it is definitely possible that the Pikes are just in the front. But at the same time, the Pikes were also, like, one of the syndicates. Like, they were really only rivaled by the Hutts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, sure, there may be someone else pulling the strings behind the scenes, but, like, they're also, like, a big group. So that'd have to be someone, like, of crazy stature to be pulling those strings.
Yeah, and back kind of to your disappointment of Boba's actions of taking out those bikers. I have a feeling it was more of he was taking them out knowing that he already took out the train and the bike, or he was about to take out the bikers. So no matter what, he's going to get answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the issue is, like, those bikers, they're just a Tatooine desert gang. They're not going to be loyal to anyone.
Right.
And so, like, he could have easily gotten info from, well, they would have at least known, hey, we were hired by someone. Yeah. He didn't at least stop to ask that. He just saw the symbol and said it was the bikers, killed them, and then moves on. It's like, well, no, there's a whole lot more to this story that you just shot instead of actually asking questions.
Which I will say, from a story storytelling standpoint, it's something I actually really admire the fact that they actually put in, because it shows off that Boba, as cold and calculating as we've seen him in other media outside of the original trilogy and now this show and Tail End of Mandalorian, he comes across as very cold and calculating. He's known as a great tracker, which is very logical expertise.
Yeah, because he's a hunter.
Exactly. But that scene right there betrays what got him into all of this to begin with. He is overcome with emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got such a strong sense of loyalty, which makes me wonder if he does have a little bit of the clone pre-genetic like tampering to like kind of get him into this mindset of loyalty and whatnot, because he was always super loyal to Jango, and considering he was a teenager, I'm calling crap on that. Teenagers are gonna like argue, and he didn't argue Jango. But there's also just the sheer amount of loyalty he shows to people he barely knows does make me think that he's got at least a little bit of that clone preconditioning in him.
I will also point out that timeline-wise for the show, all the loyalty he's showing to other people is after having interacted and been basically adopted into the Tusken Raider family.
Well, like the loyalty he was showing the Tuskens was not typical for him before that.
But you could argue that was strictly because of a survival thing of, hey, this is mutually beneficial at this point.
Yes, but there was being loyal and being and playing ball are different. True. And it's like, sure, he can play along and help them out and like come to a common goal, but the sheer loyalty and that actual legitimate rage that he felt when they were killed, that is not that's more than just a simple, okay, I'll play ball. This is mutually beneficial.
I see the point.
He definitely was loyal to them because they saved his life. When they could have just killed him.
Yep.
So that's, and I think that has to do with a lot of what what they're trying to do, or what they were trying to do in those couple of episodes, was to show the fact that Tuskens were not just, brutal sand people. They were a community.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a little bit more to it than that. I think that it depends on the tribe. Because they even commented on that in episode 2 or 3, that some tribes turn to violence and war as a way of asserting their dominance and staying relevant, for lack of a better word. Right. And so I feel like he kind of got fortunate that tribe is the one that found him, because they weren't the more vicious tribe, whereas the tribe that found Anakin's mom, for example, not so friendly.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely not the nice ones. But even the ones that found Boba, though, they're not nice. They're just a little bit less.
I would argue that they are.
They're not the aggressor.
Yeah, they're not aggressive.
They, in my opinion, were a little bit more on the cautious side of things when they brought him in, because they didn't know the guy. They just found him in the middle of the desert, close to a crashed hut ship. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you see someone laying on the ground next to a crashed hut ship. It's like, how did that get there? Why is he here? What is going on? There's a dead Sarlacc.
Either he's with the Hutts, in which case, bad juju.
Yeah.
Or he killed the Hutts, in which case, bad juju.
So, like, I feel like that was more like a precaution on their part. Just don't know who he is, especially considering that, like, Tuskens weren't exactly liked, regardless of who you were or, like, where you came from. Tuskens just were not liked, period. And so, like, it was in their benefit to be a little bit more on the cautious side of things, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, you also see that in the Rodinian that they capture with him. Because he's very much aggressive towards him, like, no, I'm getting out of here no matter what.
Yeah.
And he kind of has that breaking moment when they send him off to dig for the black melons, but past that, it's like, you're kind of happy to see him go, even if the piece that kills him looks like bad stop motion.
Yeah. That's another point too. That was terrible.
That
CGI.
was not good CGI.
No, not one of ILM's better moments.
No. Oh man. Like, I was curious about the creature because I'd never seen it in anything lore before, and I couldn't find anything on it. So I was like, okay, well, this is a new creature. It looks terrible, but hey, new creature.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and if they had done the CGI right, it might have been amazing.
Yep.
And who knows, like, considering everything they had already done with like Sarlacc pit and some of the other stuff, maybe they had like either already used the budget or were saving the budget for what's to come.
Right.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I have a feeling that like, especially with these probably last like 2 or 3 episodes, we're gonna see some pretty crazy stuff. And like the work that they did on Black Chrysanthemum alone, took some time and money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and then also the Rancor.
Yeah, that's true. The Rancor.
They're gonna have a Rancor in there that is
And Papa
probably gonna do
Machete.
some damage.
Yep, I have a feeling Boba's gonna ride that into the final fight.
You think so?
Yep. I can almost guarantee.
And it's just a quick side note: Machete is now Star Wars canon. Just throwing that out there.
I love it.
Yep. All right. So one other real quick, just bad acting thing. The way that Boba Fett was petting the Rancor, does anybody else get really frustrated by that?
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he was not touching anything, and they
No.
like CGI'd it after
Well,
the fact.
no, I think he was. I think it was practical effects, but it was just.
Well, they
He
did
just
have
didn't have any idea how to interact with it.
Yeah, I did see a picture of the actor playing Boba Fett and Machete next to like a sculpture of the Rancor head, and so it probably was actually like petting something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. He just didn't know how to like actually interact with it.
Yeah.
Like, do I treat it like it's kind of softer leather, or do I treat it like it's weathered
Yeah.
and scarred?
Yeah.
It's a Rancor that was bred for fighting, so it's gonna have a thick hide.
Eventually, one way or the other.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it hadn't, as far as I knew.
It was a pup. That's
Yeah.
why they
Yeah,
had
it
him
was a pup.
blindfolded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it hadn't even been, hadn't seen anything yet,
Yeah.
so it couldn't have been fighting.
Rancor already have pretty thick hides to begin with. The more
True.
they fight, the thicker the hide gets. But like just starting out, those are tough little fellas.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
And the fact that Luke was able to kill one says a
Well,
lot about him.
sort of.
Well, the door killed
He
it,
trapped it.
but
He used the force, and he was the one that's fighting. He hit the lever to
True.
drop the gate. Like he
True.
killed it. He may have used other things to do the work for him,
Fair.
but he
That's
killed
fair.
it.
But that just more shows they're more instinctual fighters than thoughtful fighters.
yeah, of course.
Sorry, that's the point. That's the flag I was throwing on that one. Sorry.
That's something I did like that they kind of touched on in the Bad Batch. Was like that one episode with the baby Rancor is actually the Rancor that is at Jabba's palace in episode 6.
Oh, is
And
that?
so like that's actually the same Rancor, and they showed that it actually had like, well, not much. It did have a level of intelligence to it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a dumb brute that didn't know what it was doing. Like it could like interact with and respond.
In which case, I need to finish Bad Batch.
But I was gonna say also, that didn't have its blinders on though, so it had a master.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Who was its master? Was it Jabba? Or
I think it was the guy that was crying in episode 6 when the Rancor died.
Right.
Because like since they were loyal creatures, it makes sense that like the master would also have that emotional tie to it, and so when it passes away or gets killed, there's going to be that emotional attachment of no, that was my pet, that was my
Chute Gugos.
I was gonna say it reminds me of like Aragon or something, where it's like it's a rider and a dragon.
Yeah.
They have that psychic connection, and then like if one dies.
Well, there's also like the idea that they've somewhat teased that Omega may have at least a small level of force sensitivity, and that's why she was able to bond with the Rancor the way she did.
Omega? Who's Omega?
She was the kid from Bad Batch.
Oh yeah. Okay, I have seen that, or at least most of it.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what they do bring up with it and like where they take it. I feel like we're gonna see some Tuskens get involved and fight on Boba's side in the big fight, and I also think the female Tusken shaman that like kind of helped train Boba, I don't think she's dead.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I'm with you on
Because
that
they
one.
did. It's the classic Star Wars thing. Did they show the body? Did they show her die? No, she's still there.
That's
They very-
that's
they
kind of starting
very-
to explain why Disney bought them, because that's a lot of their mantra with a lot of their properties.
Yeah. They did very intentionally show the chief's body.
Yeah.
So it's like the chief is dead.
Also the kid too.
Yeah,
right?
and the kid is dead. They did not show her body.
Yeah.
So I think she's going to come back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I think that may also be one of Boba's things too, is the fact that the child got killed because like he kind of bonded with it.
Yeah.
And like
for sure.
I feel like that could be something that would be very, emotional.
Yeah, just a bit.
So
yeah, that's definitely gonna play a part in it. Like, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw the Tuscans fight with Boba, and then he kind of was like, "All right, you're basically my combat warrior, my army spread throughout Tatooine Desert." And it's like, "I'll call on you if needed," but he's like basically got them going everywhere and like basically ears across the desert for him, bringing him information.
I'm gonna disagree slightly. I do think there's going to be future interaction for sure. I think it's probably going to be a Tuscan ambush. And then he's going to try... Well, yes, his group, little merry band of rebels, they're going to start fighting back, obviously, because they attacked them. That's what they've shown. They're more reactive than anything else right now.
mm-hmm.
I think what's going to happen, because Boba has that strong bond to the Tuscan Raiders that took him in and adopted him, he's going to try to make peace with them for that reason what you're saying. But I don't see him encouraging further fighting with them.
He's not going to fight with them. I like against them rather. I think they're going to show up and help him in this big fight because the Pikes are a huge syndicate.
Oh,
so he's
okay.
going to need
I misunderstood.
help. And so, like, I think they're going to join him in the fight against the Pikes.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
then kind of like build that like olive branch from there, so to speak. But
Gotcha. Sorry, my bad.
I want more Black Chrysanthemum. Like,
Yes.
please give me more Black Chrysanthemum. He looks great. Like, I do feel like the fight with him in, what was it, episode 2 or 3? It was 3 because the Vespa gang was there. I do feel like that fight was underwhelming because like he is like one of the most brutal characters, like one of the few that could truly rival Boba Fett in brutality in the universe, and was like known for being the unbeatable killer in the arena when he was a gladiator, and for him to be able to be so easily taken down by a bunch of goobers in the desert and 2 Gamorrean guards, like, come on.
Yeah, it's a little unbelievable there,
especially considering like he's beaten Chewbacca, who has fought worse odds than that and come out unscathed. So like, I mean, Chewbacca got in a fist fight with Vader and walked away, and he beat Chewbacca.
And that, and also we do finally see evidence of the maxim from the original trilogy: "Let the Wookiee win."
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah. Oh, there was a question I was going to ask about Chrysanthemum too. The scar. Who gave him the
All
scar
right,
again?
so I'm gonna go somewhat surface level because this may be something we see in the Kenobi show, but he got the scar because he attacked Kenobi on Tatooine.
Okay.
While he was there watching over Luke, and like he had attacked, he was sent to hunt someone down and for Jabba the Hutt, and they thought that Luke and his uncle Owen were the ones that did it, which actually wasn't the case. Like, they were somewhat involved, but they weren't the ones that did the deed. And so like he finds them, tracks them down. He's beating the crap out of Owen, and Obi-Wan is like, okay, no, I've got to save Owen. I don't know where Luke is. Like, he's disappeared. I have to get involved. And like the two of them go at it, and like Chrysanthemum holds his own. It was only because Luke flew up in his speeder and distracted Chrysanthemum that Obi-Wan actually was able to get the upper hand and win in the end.
Oh, okay.
And so, but that's how he got the scar across his eye, was from Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nice.
I was gonna say I thought I heard something about that, and I wasn't sure if it was true or if I was hearing things or whatever. So
that's from another
pretty sweet.
comic book arc
Okay.
that they did. So it's like, I'm really hoping that we get to see that moment in the Obi-Wan show, because it would make sense, like timeline wise, and like they can just do the same look of Chrysanthemum just without the scar,
right,
and be able to build that up and kind of like have that tie-in. So
yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. But I will also note that there have been a couple of retcons that they've brought in with Book of Boba that are personally kind of driving me nuts. And actually, it starts with the very pointed tip of the hat to the fans, tip of the hat or a sticking out of the tongue, one or the other. And tail end of Mandalorian season 2 of this is my chain code. My father was a Mandalorian before me. I inherited the armor, therefore I am a Mandalorian. Technically, by culture, dang it, he's right.
But we also have that instance of one of the counselors from Mandalore saying, no, he is not a Mandalorian. We do not recognize him. We do not know where he got that armor.
Right. So that's still unsolved. So it could be he's just going off what Jango told him on Kamino.
It's like there's a comic book and book explanation for how Jango got involved with the Mandalorians. He was on a planet that got attacked by Death Watch, and other Mandalorians rescued him and basically took them into his wing.
That's
kind
a
of
foundling.
like a foundling. Yeah. And that was how he, like, quote unquote joined the Mandalorian culture. Like, that hasn't been confirmed as canon. That book is, as of now, been removed from canon, so we don't know if that is or not the case anymore. But if it is canon, that would be kind of the foundation of it.
Yeah. But another point to bring into that is just understanding what makes a Mandalorian. It's not race. They've established this now fairly concretely, which, thank you. They've kind of brought into this the idea a little bit with season 1 of Mandalorian of pointing out, no, you understand the culture, you abide by the rules, you learn our language, you're part of the family. Congratulations.
Well, that also, I think, depends on the side of the spectrum you're on, because the foundlings identify each other as Mandalorian, whereas Bo-Katan and the Night Owl chick, I don't remember her name, Sasha Banks, for those of you wrestling fans, those two, like, say you're not one of us, you're just one of the foundlings, and they don't actually call him a Mandalorian, they say you are a foundling. And even with Boba Fett, they're like, no, I know your voice from the Clone Wars, you're not a true Mandalorian, you're a clone.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, though, neither are they, because they took. Oh no, because they were.
Those two they were born on and raised Mandalore.
Yeah, I was going off of the fact that they took their helmets off, but it was.
That's more like a sect deal where it's kind of like this group says it's okay, others group say no, you identify as your armor.
That was the defining moment when they sat down at the table and all took their hands off, and he immediately got defensive. Like, what are you doing? They're like, oh crap, he's one of those. Yeah. So
it's the foundlings that can't take their helmets off.
The foundlings that believe they're not supposed to.
Well, okay. There's more to that.
Because they can take their helmets off if they're on their own and they choose to do so. But the whole thing is, like, you don't lose in combat and have your helmet taken off. You don't take your helmet off in front of someone unworthy. Those are kind of like you don't take your helmet off in front of another person. Yeah. Which is kind of the workaround that we got with IG at the end of season 1 is just like, I can't take my helmet off in front of another person. I can't take my helmet off to someone that hasn't beat me in combat. And he was like, well, I'm not a person. We're not fighting. I'm helping you. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
Right. Well, that also, if you dig deeper into the Mandalorian lore, you are right. But that also adds a bit more weight when he finally takes his helmet off in front of Grogu. Mm-hmm. It's saying, you fought well. You're the one who carried us. Yeah. You're the only reason why I now have my sigil. You're the only reason why I'm actually out here with purpose. Yeah. You are worthy, little one.
It also shows his dedication to save Grogu when he took it off in season 2 for the Imperial scan.
Yep. But the other point I was going to make with the foundlings were picked up by both groups. Mm-hmm. By the proper Mandalorians, they would pick them up and say, okay, here's our culture, take them back to Mandalore if they could, depending on when we are in the timeline. And in the case of Bo-Katan, they're a bit more relaxed about it, especially off-world. Whereas with the remnants of Death Watch, they are we are Mandalore, period.
Yeah. And Death Watch believes that they are the true Mandalorians and everyone else is just pretenders trying to take that claim.
Which is why their rules are so much more strict.
Yeah. Well, and the foundlings aren't even directly connected to Death Watch. Like, they do have bits and pieces of Death Watch that they're using, like with the helmet rule and such, but the Death Watch was its own sect of Mandalorians that, especially during the Maul era,
Mhm.
they all followed Maul, and once Maul got overthrown, they just scattered because they're like, we are outnumbered heavily. We cannot win this fight without Maul. It's time to go.
Yeah, which is when you have those different remnants of the Death Watch. So my running theory right now is that I can't remember the character's name, but
Din Djarin?
no, the blacksmith.
Oh, the armorer.
Yeah, the armorer. Thank you. Yeah, wrong synonym. Anyway, yeah. So whenever the armorer is talking to him, she's speaking from experience.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds, if I had to guess, she's one of the remnant of Death Watch from Maul's era.
Could be. She doesn't have that.
She's
same
not as
brutal
gruff as you would
side.
suspect.
Yeah.
But she's also, if that is the case, I could easily see how they work into lore of her saying, okay, she's taking in these scared kids now.
Yeah.
So she's raising them as best she knows how. But that's gonna rub off on her too. And
Yeah.
that's gonna make her a little bit softer.
Yeah.
That's my running theory. Could be completely off base.
I think she's supposed to be a bit younger, like closer to Din Djarin's age. And so I don't know
okay.
if she would have actually been around the same Death Watch group. She may have been raised by a Death Watch person.
Which would also explain it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fair. Anyway.
I'm curious to see if we see Boba Fett show up in season 3 Mandalorian and he helps Din Djarin take back Mandalore from the Empire. Because I'm pretty confident that's what we're going to see in season 3. Because they've been teasing it, with, especially with him having the Darksaber now. Like, we're building to a Mandalore war.
Yeah.
But is Boba Fett going to be involved, or is he going to stay on Tatooine and be like, I don't care about your measly problems. This is my planet.
Yeah, I don't know. But that actually brings me back to another one of the retcons, though, is the armor. In this last episode of Book of Boba Fett, for those at home, it's episode 4. There's one line in the episode that kind of is a major retcon.
Mm-hmm.
Where Boba and Finnick are sitting in Slave One, or pardon, sorry, we have to be Disney safe, in Boba's starship.
I do not recognize that title. It is Slave One.
Nor does the actor. But they're hanging over the Sarlacc pit, and she says, "How in the world did you even survive? That armor is the only thing that saved you. It's gone now." Says, "No, not Beskar." Either he sincerely believes it's Beskar, unlikely since at this point he's already interacted with Din Djarin, so he's seen what real Beskar can do.
Well, in his defense, Durasteel is very durable, and it can deflect blaster shots. He's never actually been hit by a lightsaber to test that side of it out.
Fair, but throughout up to this point, it has been fairly concretely noted that Jango's armor is Durasteel.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the dent in the helmet.
Mm.
Now, you may know this better than I do, Caleb, because I still don't know if they've actually addressed where the dent comes from.
I don't believe so. I think that was one of the conflicts that happened post Jango, because it wasn't dented when Jango had it.
Right.
Let me do a quick Google.
While he's doing that, Dan, any other questions?
Oh. What is the Death Watch?
So the Death Watch was a contingency group set up by Darth Maul to try to bring Mandalore back to its original fighting force. They were known as Jedi Hunters.
Okay.
More than anything else. They were known as a warring tribe. Oh, you've got that look.
Keep going.
Okay.
I'm going to touch on that in a second.
So they were known as a warring peoples, where even taking from Boba Fett, since that is the main topic tonight,
Yes.
the symbol or the sigil of Boba Fett is a mythosaur skull. The Mandalorians were known for being one of the few people groups who would go after a mythosaur,
Mm-hmm.
and 2, they were also known for hunting them to extinction.
Oh wow. Hence the skull.
Hence the skull. But so that is kind of his claim of no, I am what I say I am. I am a Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
But further into that, and we could really geek out on the Mandalorian history here. It's I completely forgot. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, scatterbrained.
They were a very brutal, war-driven society. Like they were basically every conflict throughout the history, they were involved in some way, shape, or form. Like, originally, like during the days of Revan, they were fighting against the Republic and they were pushing back. Had Revan not joined the fight and taken 100 or so Jedi that said, no, this is stupid, we're losing, we have to do something, the Republic would have lost, plain and simple. Because they were well past the outer rims, getting into the inner rim, making a strong beeline for Coruscant, like, haha, we're coming for your planet, guys. And they were going to get it had the Jedi not gotten involved. And had the Jedi waited until the Mandalorians invaded the planet, it would have been too late.
Yeah.
And so that's why Revan took up the fight and became a general for the Republic, and he was the deciding factor in pushing back the Mandalorians.
Oh, wow.
Let's just put it this way, to paint an analogy, especially for any history buffs out there. The Mandalorians in the Star Wars universe are the equivalent of the Hessians from the Renaissance to the events that kicked off World War I.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The Mandalorians were so skilled at fighting and killing people that were supposed to be unkillable that they started using physical rounds in their guns instead of the blaster bolts, because the physical rounds passed through lightsabers and hit Jedi.
Yep.
And so they're like, oh, you can't deflect a bullet?
Slug slingers.
Cool.
Or slug slingers.
A slug slinger. Yeah, here's a slug slinger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not even know that was a thing.
So to more directly answer your question of who are the Death Watch, at that point in time, whenever Darth Maul comes back, gets stitched back together, similar to, just had a realization. Anyway, sorry, similar to how Fennec is in this latest episode. It's his goal is to try to reclaim a people's.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't because he was a slave before he was taken in as Palpatine's Padawan as a Sith. He was a slave.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't know. Well, maybe it is common in lore. I don't know. He could have fought his way out. Dothrakians were known for... Not Dothrakians, wrong series. Help me out here. Oh. Point being, the males of his race have been known to occasionally try to overthrow and escape. So
I'm sorry. My brain totally shut off. Who are you talking about again?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sorry.
Well, I've been ranting and anyway.
No. It just, for some reason, I totally missed just the fact that you were talking about him.
Dothamirian.
Dothamirian. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Dothamirian males have been known to try to rebel against the Night Sisters and the Night Coven, depending on where you are.
They've never been very successful because the Night Sisters did have the magic.
Yep.
And like that was really the only reason they were able to control it. Because when it came down to like just a face-to-face fight, the Dothamirians were significantly stronger.
Oh yeah,
they were like monsters, and that was why Maul stood out so much, is because he was hired to be an assassin under Plagueis's approval, and just absolutely dominated. Then when it was shown that he actually had force sensitivity too, it was just like, ooh, this is a problem.
Yep. But going back to that, this is after he's been cut in half, stitched back together. He's technically no longer a Sith. Sorry, that is apparently now EU canon, not Legends.
The new canon is that he was a dark side unaligned force user.
Okay.
There you go.
Which is ridiculous.
Yep.
But
it is stupid. Anyway.
He's still a Sith. He's just not a recognized Sith at that point.
So at this point, he's trying to regain power and claim for himself. And so he goes and takes a very discontented contingent of Mandalorians who, at that point in time, the Mandalorians, this is right towards the tail end of the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. The Mandalorians at this point are practically pacifists. Mm-hmm. They're saying, "Okay, we've done the war thing. Let's try the politics thing."
The Mandalorians weren't pacifist. The ruler Sabine
True.
or Satine rather, she was pacifist.
Yes.
And
Which
she
hopefully we'll see
was
more
the
of
one
in the Obi-Wan show.
She was the one that chose to keep the Mandalorians out of the war because she was the ruler of Mandalore at the time.
True.
And that was why the Night's Watch joined, or Night's Watch, the Death Watch joined Maul, was because they're like, no, we want to shoot things. Why are we sitting here being peaceful? No, that's not what we are.
Yeah.
We have armor. That's,
Well, even like her own sister Bo-Katan was not entirely on board with the peace thing. She just did it because her sister was the ruler and was like, I don't agree, but you're my sister, so I will support you. And then when her sister got killed, she was like, cool, I'm hurting people now.
Yeah, pretty much. So anyway, you did your digging.
I did my digging.
What did you find?
Dent from Boba Fett's helmet comes from a unused Clone Wars arc when he had an old Western style shoot off with Cad Bane.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I didn't even realize that was a thing since it was an unused story arc from Clone Wars. So they had this old Western shoot off. Cad Bane got the helmet, left the dent, and Cad Bane's obviously still alive, but like, geez, yeah.
Here's hoping we see Cad Bane soon.
It's possible that Cad Bane shows up working with the Pikes.
Could be.
Now,
I have a feeling that we're going to see a number of bounty hunters. This is purely just me wanting this as a fan and not anything that has led me to believe it. But I feel like we're going to end up seeing Bosk and we're going to see Cad Bane. Because if Black Chrysanthemum's on Boba Fett's side, what can rival a Wookiee? A Trandoshan. And
Nope.
Bosk and Black Chrysanthemum have one heck of a rivalry going
Yes,
back.
they do.
Bosk is the lizard looking one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And frankly, part of the reason why the Trandoshans made really good bounty hunters wasn't so much because they were tough. They were. But mainly because they regenerated.
Yeah, because Chewie tore off Bosk's arms, and he was able to regrow them. And like Bosk was an exception because he regenerated significantly faster than most Trandoshans.
Uh-huh.
All of them can regenerate, but he was pretty close to. Oh, there's my arm. Just kidding, it's back. Like,
So, all right, real quick, that last episode where Chrysanthemum was fighting
In the
lizard
bar.
people,
Trandoshans.
Trandoshans.
Yeah.
That something where he saw them and saw Bosk?
Very possibly.
Could be.
Because the
I didn't
Wookiees
think
and
about that at all.
Trandoshans have a heck of a rivalry. And like a lot of Trandoshans went around hunting Wookiees that were off Kashyyyk and selling them into slavery.
I
So,
did not think about that at all until you mentioned it.
This is something I did not know about that scene.
Yeah.
That got me excited.
Yeah. And it's possible that like those Trandoshans are going to be either know who Bosk is or possibly have a connection to him or reach out to him and be like, there's a big Wookiee over here kicking our butt. We need some help.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. Okay.
Now I'm just excited for where the season's going.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm hoping not to get your hopes up because if these things don't happen, I don't want y'all to turn to me and be like, what the heck? What did they? This is like, this is just me.
I can dream, Caleb.
This is me being a nerd, and these are the things I want to see. I have no confirmation that any of this is going to happen.
Yeah. But knowing how geeky we are as a group, like that just like made my excitement
And
for the show.
considering
just
how
go,
much
whoop.
more of a nerd Dave Filoni is, chances are he's going to have thought about all of the cool possibilities that we can do in this show. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, because if we think we're nerdy, Dave Filoni can probably take all three of our nerdiness combined and still beat it. So
Maybe we should have him on the show. Yeah, we're not.
No, that's doubtful.
that would be
We could wish.
like the good Lord above is the only way that one's gonna happen.
That's our Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Quick, one of you go back in time and get cancer. Sorry, that's not fair. We'll draw straws.
I'm hopeful that we'll see these other bounty hunters, especially Bosk and Cad Bane. Like if we see them, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Time will tell, but
I mean, just the things I've heard about Book of Boba and like the cameos, or maybe not cameos, but like the characters that they were, not specific characters, but the fact that they're trying to get more famous characters on that show, I can't imagine them doing something less so than that. You know,
and it's like, especially like they're kind of doing that member berries and bringing back that nostalgia with things like we've seen Bosk in canon on episode 5 very briefly, an old CGI. So modern CGI / modern costuming would look really cool to see what they do there. But we already know Cad Bane. Not only does he have this connection with Boba Fett from their duel, he has a long-standing rivalry with Fennec Shand, going back to Clone Wars.
Yep.
Okay.
And so Cad Bane does not like either of them. If the Pikes say, hey, 2 of the most hated people in your book are here, he's probably going to be like, I'll get the money later. I'm on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just seeing him in live action would just be like, what?
I would
that would be awesome.
I hope that they bring back the voice actor from Clone Wars and Bad Batch, because that voice is Cad Bane.
Yeah.
They can't change the voice. They have to do that voice.
Yep. Even in I can't remember which game project it was where they did have him show up in the trailer.
Was that
it was still his
13?
voice? Yes.
Please bring that back. Please.
Yes. Somebody, please pick up the rights and
Please.
whatever
Now
evidence of that game
EA
exists.
doesn't have sole rights. Please, for the love of all that's holy, bring that game back.
I'm sorry, which game was that again?
Star Wars 1313. It was based around a bounty hunter that was going to be on the lower levels of Coruscant, where it's like basically the underworld, going on a mission and like trying to like gather people and arrest them and stuff. And like there was only one teaser trailer that was released at E3 in the 2017.
Oh,
Before
so
that
long ago. Huh?
That was like, I guess 2015, 2016 maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, and that was before EA got the exclusivity rights to it, and then of course did absolutely nothing with Star Wars because EA. But
How do you really feel?
that would be a whole hour-long podcast.
Well, at least we're not going
a whole lot of
censoring.
Yeah,
lots of censoring when discussing EA for sure. The studio that did Jedi Fallen Order, love them. Outside of that,
You've yet to prove yourselves, EA.
yes.
Wait, who's doing the Lego Star Wars?
TT Games.
Okay,
They're the only studio that does the Lego games, so
okay.
EA can get away. There's another podcast episode. Is just I have dove so deep down the rabbit hole on the Lego Star Wars game. Won't go there because that'll be a long conversation. But yeah, that like bringing in Cad Bane would make so much sense, and having the Cad Bane voice, like if you want to get fans that are divided on Book of Boba back on board,
bring in Cad Bane with
Cad
that
Bane.
voice,
and potentially bring in Bosk.
Yeah,
you bring in those 2 characters. They don't care what episode 3 was. They're just going to point to the episode those 2 showed up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And considering the fact that they had Ming-Na Wen do the voice in Bad Batch, or was it Bad Batch?
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible that if they do Cad Bane, they'll get the voice.
The difference is like she was already established in the live action universe before Fennec Shand showed up in Bad Batch. Because she was in Mandalorian season 1 and 2.
Right.
And then they did Bad Batch. And so, like, Fennec Shand was already an established character live action. And so it's like, sure, they and the voice actors would be more than willing, I'm sure. It's like making it match up and sync and having like a physical actor mouthing things, whereas the voice actors going
kind of an avatar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the tricky part is.
Yeah. I was going to say the thing about it is that, like, the way Disney does things, they could have easily gotten some other voice to do Fennec.
Mm-hmm.
And probably would have been close to, if not
Disney, yes. This is Filoni that's in charge of Bad Batch. And Filoni is all about that consistency and that continuity. But
that's what I'm saying.
Filoni is like, just, he's not working directly on Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
That's Jon Favreau, who also is big on that continuity.
Yeah.
Like Favreau is big on the continuity as well, so I can see him like saying, "No, we need that voice actor to make it really work." But I could also see Filoni be like, "You're using the character I created. Move out my way. We're doing this."
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I think that's a good note to leave it on. Please, Cad Bane. Please, boss.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be so stoked for that.
More so the former.
Well, yeah. But yeah, so we will wrap it up here. I think that was a good place to leave it. Was there anything else? Okay. All right. Well, have a good one, guys, and we will see you next time.
May the force be with you.
And also with you.
All right. Bye, guys.